First and foremost, I give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. This is just a soldier, doing the work for Yahweh. And the topic at hand is sin. We're just going to dabble around on what it is, misconceptions of it, etc. So we're going to start off what sin is. This is 1 John chapter 3, right? Verse 4. Everybody knows this. Whosoever committeth sin, transgressive also the law. For sin is transgression of the law. So sin is transgression of the law. A lot of times we make this walk, being in the truth. Even our brothers and sisters that's in Christianity, they're led astray. They make the walk of following the scriptures harder than it needs to be, right? They add things in there that's not even, it's not even really a sin. You're making the walk already harder than it is. And to show you that, I'm going to go into Romans 5 and 13, right? Romans 5 and 13, right here, it says, for until the law, sin was in the world, but sin is not imputed when there is no law. So there's no law on a certain thing, right? Like if there's no law saying I can't wear leather shoes, it's not a sin. You making the walk harder than it needs to be, and then you adding on to the scripture. You being guilty. That's it, right? That's in Romans, and that's a law in Deuteronomy. It talks about adding on to the scripture, and that's not good. And one of the things that people add on to the law, especially the Catholic Church and Protestants and a lot of sects of Christianity, is the topic of lust, right? Like they'll take Matthew, for example. Let me show you Matthew. They'll say that you cannot lust upon a woman, but then naturally, how will you find your wife, right? Because let's just be real. You're not going to look at a woman and say, oh, her personality is amazing. Like if you see her on the street and you just walking past, the first thing you're going to be attracted to is her looks, right? And they say you can't lust upon a woman or look upon a woman with lustful intent. And I'm going to get into, is lust a bad thing? But naturally, let me show you in Matthew, especially the Catholic Church, they do this because naturally, ultimately, it comes from Esau, the so-called white man. And naturally, they're freaks and faggots. So when you get into the scripture, they'll take the context of Matthew 5 to 27 and 30. Well, Matthew 27 and in chapter 5, right? It says, ye have heard that it was said by them of old time, thou shalt not commit adultery. But I say unto you that whosoever look unto a woman to lust after her have committed adultery with her already in his heart. Right? So the context of this is talking about lusting upon a married woman. Like the Catholic, I don't know where they get the doctrine from. They probably take one verse from out the New Testament and just say that, hey, look, it says not to lust upon a woman. But what does lust mean, right? We're going to get into the etymology of that in the Latin. So lust, means to desire or is an appetite, sensational appetite, right? And that's the etymology. It's basically the desire when you get into it. And let me show you something. The Most High desired. And you got Psalms 132, right? Verse 14. This is talking about the Most High. This is my rest forever. Here will I dwell, for I have desired it. Right? We just went into the etymology. Let me show you again. The etymology of lust, desire, right? Now, we're going to dive into the Most High, because naturally, lust isn't really a bad thing. Because this is a disclaimer, right? I'm not telling you to look at every single woman that walk past and lose your damn mind, just lusting upon every woman that walk past you, right? I'm just trying to prove that simple things that you think are sins are not a sin, right? Because you gotta erase that captive mindset from Christianity and Catholicism. But when you read Isaiah 26 and 8, it says, yeah, in the way of thy judgments, O Lord, have we waited for thee. The desire, right? Desire, you see that word? Let me highlight that. Desire of our soul is to thy name and to the remembrance of thee, right? So we're desiring to be closer to the Most High than the Most High desired, right? It's interesting is when we get into the Hebrew, let me go into the Hebrew, it pretty much says the same thing. It says lust, right? It's if I can pronounce this right, ava. It's the desire. Desire, right? Lust means to desire, from English or the Latin into the etymology of What lust means, it means to desire, intensely, right? Or just to desire. And when you get into the Hebrew, what desire means, it's interesting because you find that same word lust right here, right? So that's just showing you that lust isn't necessarily a bad thing, and it's not even a sin. You can't find that in Torah. Like, I like to tell people, if you can't find anything in the first 5 books of the Bible saying thou shalt not, or getting into certain laws and customs, etc., it's not a sin, because that's what the law is, the Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible. And as we just read in Romans 5:13, it says, "For until the law, sin was in the world, but sin is not imputed when there is no law." So if there's no law, there's no sin. You're just making this walk harder than it needs to be, right? That's what I'm saying. And a lot of times, if you're not following the law, this going back to Proverbs 28:9, right? It says, "He that turneth away his ear from hearing the law, even his prayer shall be an abomination," right? Let me see. The ESV says, "If one turns away his ear from hearing the law, even his prayer is an abomination." And the rest of them say, like, detestable, a bunch of stuff like that, hateful to hear to the Most High in the Good News Translation. Ultimately, if you sinning and you're not following these laws, statutes, and commandments, the Most High is not hearing your prayers. So, and then a lot of things that you adding on to the law, you already making the walk harder than it is, plus the things you need to follow, right? Everybody follows the U.S. government's law or any other Western world country's law. What's so hard about following 613 laws? It's beneficial for you. You don't even, most of them we're not even really doing right now because we're in captivity. But ultimately, the whole conclusion of what I'm saying is you gotta go to Ecclesiastes 12:13, right? This is the whole conclusion of the whole thing. The reason why I'm getting into this, right? Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty, man. This is our whole duty. So you have to figure out what is sin and what is not sin. And you just got to go through the Torah. Just study the Torah. All the things and the laws dealing with what sin is, things that are sins, is right there. But on that, I give all honor, praise, and glory to the Most High. Double honors to the elders that taught us this truth. And with that, I say shalom.